He laughed and stood up. Her insistent stare disconcerted him. A dog was prowling among the grub sacks. He would drive it away and place them into safety against Fairfax's return. But Tom stretched out a detaining hand and stood up, facing him. "You," she said, in the Arctic tongue which differs little from Greenland to Point Barrow. "You," and the swift expression of her face demanded all for which you stood, his reason for existence, his presence there, his relation to her husband, everything. "Brother," he answered in the same tongue, with a sweeping gesture to the south. "Brothers we be, your man and I." She shook her head. "It is not good that you be here." "After one sleep I go, and my man?" she demanded, with tremulous eagerness. Van Brunt shrugged his shoulders. He was aware of a certain secret shame, of an impersonal sort of shame, and an anger against Fairfax. And he felt the warm blood in his face as he regarded the young savage. She was just a woman. That was all, a woman. The whole sordid story over again, over and over again, as old as Eve and young as the last new lovelight. My man. My man. My man, she was reiterating vehemently, her face passionately dark, and the ruthless tenderness of the eternal woman, the mate woman, looking out at him from her eyes. "Tom," he said gravely, in English, "you were born in the Northland forest. And you have eaten fish and meat, and fought with frost and famine, and lived simply all the days of your life. And there are many things, indeed not simple, which you do not know and cannot come to understand. You do not know what it is to long for the fleshpots afar, you cannot understand what it is to yearn for a fair woman's face. And the woman is fair, Tom, the woman is nobly fair. You have been woman to this man, and you have been your all, but your all is very little, very simple. Too little and too simple, and he is an alien man. Him you have never known, you can never know. It is so ordained. You held him in your arms, but you never held his heart, this man with his blurring seasons, and his dreams of a barbaric end. Dreams and dream dust, that is what he has been to you. You clutched at form and gripped shadow, gave yourself to a man and bedded with the wraith of a man. In such manner, of old, did the daughters of men whom the gods found fair. And, Tom, I should not like to be John Fairfax in the night watches of the years to come, in the night watches, when his eyes shall see, not the sun-gloried hair of the woman by his side, but the dark tresses of a mate forsaken in the forests of the north. Though she did not understand, she had listened with intense attention, as though life hung on his speech. But she caught at her husband's name and cried out in Eskimo, "Yes. Yes. Fairfax. My man, poor little fool, how could he be your man?" But she could not understand his English tongue, and deemed that she was being trifled with. The dumb, insensate anger of the mate woman flamed in her face, and it almost seemed to the man as though she crouched panther-like for the spring. He cursed softly to himself and watched the fire fade from her face and the soft luminous glow of the appealing woman spring up, of the appealing woman who forgoes strength and panoplies herself wisely in her weakness. "He is my man," she said gently. "Never have I known other. It cannot be that I should ever know other. Nor can it be that he should go from me. Who has said he shall go from thee?" he demanded sharply, half in exasperation, half in impotence. It is for thee to say he shall not go from me, she answered softly, a half-sob in her throat. Van Brunt kicked the embers of the fire savagely and sat down. It is for thee to say. He is my man. Before all women, he is my man. Thou art big, thou art strong, and behold, I am very weak. See, I am at thy feet. It is for thee to deal with me. It is for thee, get up. He jerked her roughly erect and stood up himself. Thou art a woman. Wherefore the dirt is no place for thee, nor the feet of any man. He is my man, then Jesus forgive all men. Van Brunt cried out passionately, he is my man, she repeated monotonously, beseechingly, he is my brother, he answered. My father is Chief Tantlatch. He is a power over 5 villages. I will see that the 5 villages be searched for thy choice of all maidens, that thou mayest stay here by thy brother, and dwell in comfort. After one sleep I go, and my man, thy man comes now. Behold, from among the gloomy spruces came the light caroling of Fairfax's voice. As the day is quenched by a sea of fog, so his song smote the light out of her face. It is the tongue of his own people, she said, the tongue of his own people. She turned, with the free movement of a lithe young animal, and made off into the forest. It's all fixed, Fairfax called as he came up. His Regal Highness will receive you after breakfast. Have you told him? Van Brunt asked. No. Nor shall I tell him till we're ready to pull out. Van Brunt looked with moody affection over the sleeping forms of his men. I shall be glad when we are 100 leagues upon our way, he said. Tom raised the skin flap of her father's lodge. 2 men sat with him, and the 3 looked at her with swift interest. But her face betokened nothing as she entered and took seat, quietly, without speech. Tantlatch drummed with his knuckles on a spear heft across his knees, and gazed idly along the path of a sunray which pierced a lacing hole and flung a glittering track across the murky atmosphere of the lodge. To his right, at his shoulder, crouched Chugungat, the shaman. Both were old men, and the weariness of many years brooded in their eyes. But opposite them sat Keen, a young man and chief favorite in the tribe. He was quick and alert of movement, and his black eyes flashed from face to face in ceaseless scrutiny and challenge. Silence reigned in the place. Now and again camp noises penetrated, and from the distance, faint and far, like the shadows of voices, came the wrangling of boys in thin shrill tones. A dog thrust his head into the entrance, and blinked wolfishly at them for a space, the slaver dripping from his ivory-white fangs. After a time he growled tentatively, and then, awed by the immobility of the human figures, lowered his head and grovelled away backward. Tantlatch glanced apathetically at his daughter. And thy man, how is it with him and thee? He sings strange songs, Tom made answer, and there is a new look on his face, so? He hath spoken, nay, but there is a new look on his face. A new light in his eyes, and with a new comber he sits by the fire, and they talk, and the talk is without end. Chugungat whispered in his master's ear, and Keen leaned forward from his hips. There be something calling him from afar, she went on, and he seems to sit and listen, and to answer, singing, in his own people's tongue. Again Chugungat whispered, and Keen leaned forward, and Tom held her speech till her father nodded his head that she might proceed. It be known to thee, O Tantlatch, that the wild goose and the swan and the little ringed duck be born here in the low-lying lands. It be known that they go away before the face of the frost to unknown places. And it be known, likewise, that always do they return when the sun is in the land and the waterways are free. Always do they return to where they were born, that new life may go forth. The land calls to them and they come. And now there is another land that calls, and it is calling to my man, the land where he was born, and he hath it in mind to answer the call. Yet is he my man. Before all women is he my man. Is it well, Tantlatch? Is it well? Chugungat demanded, with the hint of menace in his voice.